Welcome back. All right, so the AHL video for this week, wearing a Rochester Americans jersey. It's the first time I've worn this. So, we'll just do the usual look around the AHL. And we've got games in the middle of this week. Wednesday's actually pretty busy in the AHL. But let's talk about what's been going on. So, Braden Tracy is your player of the week, San Diego Gulls. So, Anaheim Ducks prospect, number 29 overall in 2019. He's coming along very nicely. An Anaheim team that's already seeing a lot of its good young players on the roster. Tracy's coming along. This is good news. And again, for Anaheim, what this allows is that, let's say Tracy's ready next season. Maybe you move one of the young forwards for a blue liner. Maybe you say, hey, we could use an upgraded backup. No offense to Stolars, and maybe they look there. See, so there's an embarrassment of riches right now for Anaheim when it comes to young, talented players. So, hopefully it stays that way. Now, Rochester, Jankowski, who of course was just signed yesterday by the Buffalo Sabres. He's been playing in Rochester all year. In 13 games playing for the Americans, 5 goals, 7 assists for 12 points. And Jack Quinn, who's off to a very good rookie season, he's now number 1 in scoring in the entire league. In 17 games, 11 goals, 13 assists, 24 points. So much like Anaheim, as I mentioned before, Buffalo has some very good young prospects who are doing quite well. Paterka is playing pretty well too, but Quinn is the number 1 scorer, and we'll see whether or not maybe he can end up being the number 1 scorer in the AHL, or how likely are they to maybe bring him up for the end of the season just to see what they have. Just play him for a few games, just see what you got, see how he does, that kind of thing. It's not uncommon for teams to do that, especially in the second half of the season, especially if they're out, if they're done, right? So we'll see what happens. There's been some postponements in the AHL as well. Of course, we had postponements here locally. I don't think that's done. I'll come back to it. Hershey's games were postponed due to COVID protocols. So, number of players affected. And I wondered about that too, because the AHL doesn't have the budget of the NHL. I would think it's much more difficult to not have some sort of an outbreak. So, they got shut down due to protocols. And so we'll see when they come out of this how that works out for Hershey, but they had their games on the weekend postponed, and hopefully that's as far as it goes. Utica suffered their first defeat, so their huge start, their 13-0 start, that's as good as it gets, but now they're 15-1. The only team that's beaten them, Rochester. That's the reason I said I gotta wear a Rochester jersey. They are the only team to put a defeat on Utica, beating them 4-2. So Utica off to a 15-1 start. It's starting to get noticed. I was watching the New Jersey Devils broadcast the other night, and they were talking about Utica. And so what they've been able to do, people are noticing outside of the AHL circles. And, kudos to Utica for being able to do so well to start the season. It's a matter of whether or not you can keep it up, right? Ontario had their games postponed, but for a completely different reason than Hershey. They had problems with ice-making equipment, so they couldn't play their games, so those have been postponed. Haven't seen makeup dates yet for their games or for the Hershey ones either, and so we'll see how it works out. And then coming back to the local situation, now Abbotsford's supposed to have a game tomorrow. They're also supposed to have a game on Wednesday. These are the makeup games that were postponed previously. I'm not sure how these are going to get played, but right now they're still on the schedule. I haven't seen them being postponed. I say I'm not sure how, because there are local evacuations. Walkham Road, there's parts of that's been evacuated. Huntington area has been evacuated. They're trying to get people out of Arnold, which is a small little neighborhood, basically. Neighborhood. Like, it's a very small area between Abbotsford and Chilliwack. There's a lot of, I get the feeling there's a lot of people who buy tickets too that are from Chilliwack, from the Eastern Valley. Getting from Chilliwack to Abbotsford is a challenge right now. And so we're also, right now it's sunny, but later on today we're supposed to get another one of those storms coming in. More rain, more rain, more rain. And it's supposed to be worse than the one that we had on the weekend, which was causing flooding and landslides as well. So I'm not sure that the games are going to go forward tomorrow and on Wednesday. We'll see. I would not be surprised if they postpone them again. And I don't know how far you go with this. Obviously, with the AHL, you're more willing to just cancel games than you would be at the NHL level. I know in the BCHL, they're already talking about how, well, if teams can't play all their games, we're going to go by points percentage. That's what the league's commissioner has said, is they'll just go by points percentage. That's already been the plan for BCHL anyways. And of course, the BC League here, you've got teams that are completely locked, where they cannot play one another. They cannot get to one another, because in the BCHL, you're riding the buses. There's no private planes or anything like that for those kids. And so it's a tough time out here in British Columbia if you're playing sports. Because if you have to go from one town to another, that might be a bit of a challenge. And it may get worse before it gets better. I've heard discussions about whether or not Highway 1 between Chilliwack and Abbotsford will be closed for the week. What's going to happen there? And again, just the uncertainty. I'd be very surprised if the upcoming games don't end up being affected. But we'll see. So for me personally, for where we're at, there is some localized flooding we do have to concern ourselves with. But we should be all right. But that can change. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.